Chris Walker, welcome to the show.
Paige, great to be here.
What were the kind of beginnings of you starting to feel like things in your life could be different despite all of this external success?
So when I started to explore this, my business was probably doing like 3 million in revenue, and maybe we had, I don't know, 15 or 20 people working at my company. My personal brand was growing. I was being asked to speak at, places like Google and things like that to a bunch of executives and big audiences and things like that. And I just started to notice that things like I would get anxiety a couple of times a week or whatever. Like you make $1 million and you think it's going to change your life. And then you're like, oh, but I don't feel differently. I guess it must have been $10 million, right? It's just not enough yet. And so I started to seek out for solutions. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I want to explore this further. And it was really at the crux, it was to solve my anxiety. It was getting in the way of me living my life. I started just doing like the most basic, journaling routine where you write down like, 3 goals, 3 things you're grateful for, and 3 things that you're going to do that day or whatever people do. And then over time, I started to iterate on the process, and I continued to iterate on it until it was basically like a system that I would use every 90 days to evaluate my life, score it on these different dimensions, build out a plan of where I want to go and have a clear vision of where I want to go. And then I had a very intentional routine about getting clear on who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I believe about the world. And then I looked up in 2024 and I was like, wow, I've built this massive company. Wow, I never feel anxiety anymore. Right? I haven't felt guilty for not working in multiple years, which I used to feel like that all the time, every time I went on vacation. And so these emotional symptoms were totally gone. My life, I was like, my health has never been better. My energy has never been better. My thinking has never been better. My relationships have never been better. Like, why is this the way that it is? Right? My company runs without me. Why are things the way that they are? And I was very clear that what I was doing with this writing routine was the reason that my life is the way that it is. Truly profound things started to happen. One is just this, what I'll call emotional sovereignty, meaning that like I never feel cognitively driven negative emotions anymore because those emotions are created through subconscious programs or ingrained neural pathways. So total emotional sovereignty. Visions that I used to have for business used to happen like once a year, and now I have clairvoyant visions once a month. And so there's been a rapid a consistency of accessing both my intuition and clairvoyant visions for my business and for society. The book that I just published was from a clairvoyant vision that I had about 2 years ago about where society is going related to AI. 5 years ago, I was not expressing in an empathetic way, but that didn't mean that I wasn't an empathetic person. It just meant that I wasn't expressing that way. And now 5 years later, people spend time with me and they say, wow, like I don't feel safe like this around almost anyone. I'm ready to tell all you my life secrets because I feel safe around you. And that's a function of a powerful nervous system and nervous system regulation. And then I started to explore my biometrics. So after I'm like, there's something that needs to be studied more about this. And so then I've been measuring my HRV for 5 years, but and also EEGs, cortisol measurements, VO2 max, a bunch of blood tests, all the different hormones and things like that. And I consistently score in the top 1% of all of those different biomarkers, including EEGs. And EEGs are pretty rare for someone like me to score at that level because typically founders are stressed and dysregulated and things like that. And so a majority of founders actually have a very high beta 2 composition of their brain waves. And mine are almost primarily alpha and theta. And EEG is hard to fake. You know what I mean? It's just like that's how my brain now operates. And so when you put all these things together, it was basically like the reflection from me is at first, my belief like 2 years ago is I must be special. And I was wrong. What I realize now is that everybody is capable of this. Every single human being, it's an innate human capability, just like we all have an IQ, that we all have these things that we can develop and express. And so that has been the thesis and mission of Encoded that we started. And I see it as something that I'm pumped to explore and research, but also just, I think, a really powerful contribution to society.
I feel really excited by all of these things that you're saying. And And there's also a part of me that is aware that you've founded this product and you want people to know that it works. You've put all this effort into it, and like ultimately it's out there in the market and you want people to buy it. And so I'm not sure if it's like that part that like is making me feel skeptical, or there's a part of me that feels skeptical over what you're saying, because it's almost like, could this be like, this feels too good to be true. And like when I look around at all the people in my life and even the people who are like financially successful, I just don't have a model for this. And I'm sure a lot of people are listening thinking the same thing. Like, you know, this guy's out here, he's on this podcast, he's trying to sell a product, he's telling me all these things. Like, could this be true? I've never seen it.
Would you say that if someone had the level of commitment and intentionality, a long enough time horizon, that anyone could get into top 1% shape in their fitness?
I don't know, because, you know, everyone's biology is different. So if we're talking about fitness, like,
Okay,
I think that,
let's say express their maximum potential in fitness.
yeah, with commitment, I think that's the thing, consistency and commitment.
Sure, but with the like we understand it in fitness, right? Like if I do the reps and I follow a plan and I am committed to doing it, then I will experience these benefits. I will get stronger. My hormones will be better. I'll have better energy. I will regulate my emotions more effectively, right? My hormones will optimize in a different way. There are all of these proven things that happen when we train our body in particular ways. What if the same thing was true, that if we take an intentional plan to train the neural pathways in our mind, which, by the way, proven by science, our neural pathways are malleable. It's an innate human capability that we all have. So that if we train the neural pathways in our mind in order to experience the world differently and see ourselves differently automatically, that creates more regulation in our nervous system. We also expand the capacity of our nervous system because we're not wasting so much energy in fight or flight mode that's invisible. Then can make the next connection on science that it's proven that if we have a more powerful nervous system measured by heart rate variability and a variety of other measurements, we make better decisions. We access our intuition more reliably. We have better cognitive performance and athletic performance. Those are all proven by science, and emotional regulation. It's proven already. And so all we've done is really just take three existing sets of science that have been individual, and we've connected them together in a way that no one has before.
Yeah. Look, it's not even that I'm skeptical about. Like, I understand, yeah, humans are neuroplastic. We're wired for change. Yeah, I think the thing for me that I'm kind of like, you know, does this stuff actually work? Because it sounds to me like what you're talking about is just a different. It's like a different flavor of manifestation. You're bringing to fruition that which you desire, you know, like rewiring your neural circuits and like your nervous system and your perceptive tools to actually seek those things out, and then that changes your behavior. So that'll kind of like make sense to me. I think the thing for me that is like, it's just the consistency piece. Like, I think consistency is really challenging for humans. I think we live in a time where we want instantaneous results.
Actually, humans are wildly consistent. You consistently react negatively in a certain way when someone says something to you. You consistently say that you're going to do something and then you don't do it, right? So people are actually very consistent. They're just consistent with their within their own existing subconscious programs. And the reason is because 95% of them run on autopilot. It's true that the people that tend to have the most success with our system right now are that people that have already demonstrated in their life before that commitment and consistency over a long period of time is what drives actual benefits and results and change in your life. The people that are looking for the snap their fingers and have something, or to go to an ayahuasca ceremony and change their life, those people fail in our system. It's true. But I don't, I disagree with the idea that people are not consistent. It's just what you choose to be consistent on. And
Yeah.
I've been someone before that said, you know, I'm going to go to the gym on Tuesday after work and then not go. Anyone can do this if they want to.
Yes, humans are consistent in their bad habits. Like, humans are consistent in whatever habits that they have. Like, obviously, we're consistent in that we get out of bed every morning and go to sleep at night, or maybe some of us don't, but then we're consistent in that. And, you know, maybe I'm like telling on myself here, because this is all just a projection of what I think that my shit is. And it's just hard to like commit to doing something when there's so many other things that you feel like you should be doing? Like it kind of like it ends up being another thing that you need to add to the routine.
I mean, when I was scaling my business, I was one of the top busiest people out there because I have no time between the meetings. I could barely take a piss between meetings, right?
Mm,
I could barely, I just eat lunch with my business partner while we did a business meeting. I
mm,
had to do all of the creative and strategic work on Saturday and Sunday because my calendar was jammed full while I'm scaling my 40-person business that relies on me. I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning just so I could go to the gym, which I needed to be able to even have the energy to do all of the other things.
mhm,
Right? I have no time for social activities. I had barely any time. Maybe on a holiday I would go and see my family. I was difficult to even take a vacation for 3 days or something might burn down, right? I'm super busy. What happened was that as I developed this habit, I actually created more time for myself. I started to see things differently. I started to delegate more. I started to be more intentional about the things that I was choosing to do versus what I wasn't doing. And to me now, it's like I still do this every day. I woke up today and did it, and I have for the past 4 years. Like almost, unless I'm deathly ill, I never miss it. And to me, it's the number one thing that I do every day. Number two is going to the gym. So I get it. Like there are parents that use the product, right? There are parents that are like, I got my kid going in the morning. They're up early. Like I don't have time to do this. And they find time to do it at 11 a.m. or they find time to do it at 3 p.m. Majority of people do not realize how much time they waste second guessing themselves, not making a choice that they knew they should not leaving a relationship or leaving a city, and they wait on it for 3 or 6 months before they actually make a decision, even they know it's right for them, right? How much time they waste not being consistent and going for the life that they want to live. Those types of things are actually incredibly expensive on a variety of different dimensions. If you have never exercised before, some people find it energizing. They're like, they do it for a couple days and they're like, I love this. And then they keep going. Other people, it feels really hard. People can feel it in different ways. But what I'm posing here is that it's the same thing as doing a 20-minute exercise routine every day. It's just
mm,
working a different part of your body that's actually more foundational to your mental and physical well being. Sure, people achieve greater results by using this, but I don't view it as a manifestation technique. That I view it as a process of getting clear on where you want your life to go and to train the things inside of you to align with that life, right? So some people would be like, oh, like that's manifestation. The people that attempt manifestation, at least from my perspective, are the people that want something easy and fast. The reality is that I've achieved a lot in my life, and I realized very clearly that whenever I looked for something that was easy and fast, it never worked. It actually cost me a lot of money. It's not some type of quick fix where we meditate for a couple of minutes and make $1 million.
um, I want to go back to the clairvoyant stuff that you spoke about. But before we do that, I find that like, yeah, I don't know a lot of relaxed people, but I know a lot of busy people. And you do wonder, and I wonder, I guess, with the way that I find myself being busy, about the time wasting thing. I guess as a founder or somebody who has had a life that looked really busy, like what else can you say about that identity piece and like what do you think's happening there on a subconscious level? Why do people make themselves so busy and feel it like it's important to be busy?
So I saw it on LinkedIn today, right? Of somebody, whoever it was, posted their calendar and it had like 17 meetings in 30 increments from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And they're like, look at me, I'm being so efficient. But what is the definition of efficiency? The definition of efficiency is the maximum output for the minimum inputs. And so if you're grinding all day, that is a lot of actual input, which lowers your overall efficiency, right? So people actually misunderstand what efficiency actually means, right? The most efficient that you can be is get massive output and do 1 minute of work. So why do people overwork? There's a couple of different reasons. Number one is that in 1990 up until maybe 2010, and it's been declining since, that working hard was a reliable strategy. That when information was less abundant, the the ability to work 60 hours over 40 hours was an advantage. You collected more information, more professional relationships, and things like that. Now that AI has come around, that advantage no longer exists. You're not competing against another human for more information. You're competing against a machine that has all the information that any of us will ever learn. And so this working harder has been an ingrained strategy that was reliable 30 years ago, but since the shift is no longer the advantage that it once was. The second part is related to identity and self-worth. So many people, including myself in the past, and tons of data on founders and people that go through the encoded system, people have an identity of I have to hold everything together. I'm the person that has to hold everything together, and I'm only as valuable as the output that I produce or what the clients think or something related to those types of identity-based subconscious programs. So when you feel those programs, it drives you to specific behaviors and feelings. Those things are overworking, filling up your calendar in order to feel important, not delegating effectively, so micromanaging and things like that. And it leads you to feel specific feelings like not being present at dinner with your family because you're half thinking about the things that you need to do, not being able to be fully present with your kid because you're like you have to spend all your time on the laptop and you're like, yeah, Jimmy, do what you're doing over there and not be fully present with your children. And that comes from an identity-based program, and you can shift that, right? I'm just providing an example that worked for me, which is that I'm a visionary leader who empowers and inspires others. I create environments where others thrive and grow. When you can fully internalize that, you just run a new program. It's like you have an opportunity to jump in and do something. And it's like, no, I create environments where others thrive and grow. This is not even something that I would consider doing. Another one is what we call a belief-based subconscious program, which we call the productivity contract. And so the productivity contract is something that many people follow, which is that I'm only as valuable as the amount of output that I produce. It's more of not a belief about who you are and more of a belief about how the world works, that I have to work this hard, I have to suffer and grind to be successful, that these sacrifices are required in order to, get what I want or something like that. And that drives people to sacrifice their relationships with their, a lot of founders are divorced, having not great relationships with your children, neglecting your physical and mental health and well-being. So there's a variety of symptoms that get felt through that, which cause you to overwork. It's about that simple. As easy as it is to train your mind to overwork 80 hours a week. And basically, when you have that program, you have to. If you're slowing
Mm,
down, like you feel so anxious that you actually have to go back and do something.
mm,
It's just as easy to train your mind to say, like, the value that I provide is in empowering others by creating places where those people learn, thrive, grow. Like I talked to 2 encoded clients that have been using it for about 9 months now. And one of them, when they came to start working with it, which was like last September, they were working 70 or 80-hour weeks, not present with their children, not exercising, capped out at 40 or 50K a month in revenue, burnt out, like feeling shame and guilt all the time. And just talked to him the other day, and now he brought on a team. They're making way more money. He's really more profitable. He's exercising with his kids, works 2 days a week,
mm,
making 3 times as much money as he was before in 9 months. And it's literally just a shift in your perception. Like it's actually more than perception. I think perception is dumbing it down because it's like you don't shift it in a one-time decision. You shift it over time. So just like you don't become a professional athlete by going to the gym one time. But those are some of the reasons why people overwork and why I did. It's
mm.
actually not a fact that you need to suffer and grind to be successful. And there's evidence of proof if you look that there are many people that have reached success without doing that. It's just that when we believe the program, we filter all those things out and we only look at the evidence that confirms what we believe.
I mean, I think it's a real uphill battle just with trying to de-busyify yourself. Like, I mean, I know that you have a system, but we're also just exposed to all of these dopaminergic applications all day, every day. If you do want to run a business, like you're going to have to interface with Instagram, you're going to have to interface with all these things that are actually hacking your brain chemistry.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'll give 3 very pointed examples here. So you hear a ton of people saying, I feel burnt out and like I'm falling behind because of I'm using AI, right? In the optimization community, you hear
Hmm.
people
Big time.
saying I had to get rid of my fitness band because I was obsessing over the data. So it's the
Mm.
fitness band's fault, right? It's AI's fault. It's the fitness band's fault. I have to use social media for my business. So it's their fault that I am doom scrolling and feel stressed, right? It's not. It's none of those things' fault. It's your relationship to them. It might be hard for people to hear, but once you hear it and internalize it, it's actually super empowering because it takes the power out of the thing and puts the power into you. That I wear a Whoop. I use AI. I use social media. None of them negatively affect me because of my relationship to them and how and why I'm using them. And even people with the news about AI, right? The news is stressing me out because I feel like I'm going to lose my job, right? It's not the news's fault, right? I see the news sometimes and I'm like, what do you mean that people like, yes, I know people are going to lose your job, but I'm not stressed about it. I know how to navigate this. I trust myself. I know where I'm going. This
Mm.
is fine. And so it's none of those things. It's how you relate and interpret them.
So you've talked a lot about the subconscious programming, what's going on in the kind of like basement of the mind. Um, but if we look at it from like a Freudian perspective, then the unconscious is that which you can never know, because anything that you do know that you think is going on subconsciously is actually being filtered through your conscious mind. So I wonder, like with your program and other things that are similar, when it comes to reprogramming what's happening in the subconscious, like how can you do that if like you can't actually access that?
So, as you raise your level of awareness, right? So, my estimate is about 80 to 90% of people have no awareness of this, even this concept overall. So, what they view is this is normal. It's normal that that life works this way. That I'm stressed. That I'm working all the time. That I can't get ahead. That whatever, right? So, and when they think that it's normal, they don't look any deeper and they don't seek out solutions. So there's actually a just a smaller subset of the population right now that would even consider the idea of looking deeper. So that might create the perception that you can't see what's there because a majority of people have never looked. Historically, it would take years of introspection and a variety of conscious level work to try to unearth the things that are there. Or the alternative was to hire a specialized coach. And so I did this for some people before we built the product and I was figuring this out. And it would take me 3 months and it would cost them like $15,000 or $20,000 for me to unearth it out of them. And so that is a long, expensive, not accessible process to anybody. Right. And so thousands of or tens of thousands of dollars worth of specialized coaching or years of introspection. One is expensive and the other one's very slow. So that's why it feels impossible. So what we've done at Encoded is we've built a system that models the process that I used over 3 months and compacted it into an AI system that unearths the stuff in 45 to 90 minutes. And when people see the report that's in there, a majority of people say, whoa, like I've never felt more seen before. I've never felt more clear on the actual stuff because it tells you the real stuff about who you believe you are and where and what are the things that are actually holding you back that you believe that you think are facts but aren't. And so the level of speed and accessibility and cost effectiveness is just like orders of magnitude greater than what the previous methods were. And that is actually the hardest part, right? Like writing stuff down in a journal, like getting a generic affirmation, like I am abundant, right? Like it's not getting to the thing that's actually there. And
Mm.
so when it's generic, what happens is you have cognitive dissonance, you have a confliction between the thing that you're telling yourself versus the thing that's actually down there. And when that conflict happens, you never believe the actual thing and it actually backfires and it lowers your self-efficacy because you tried something and it didn't work. That is the hardest part is actually finding out what's down there and being aware of it. So that's the innovation in the system.
So you're saying that the efficacy is in the specificity that you of what you're writing down. And is there also something to the writing down part of it, because that's
For
sort of
sure.
different from traditional coaching or psychotherapy.
So the first thing is just on handwriting alone, right? So when you look at the data, related to neuroplasticity. Handwriting is by far the most scientifically validated way to activate neuroplasticity in your mind. It activates 3 different parts of your brain, and it's shown to be more effective than typing, speaking, reading, visualizing. And so that's one big part, because it sounds simple, but from a neurological and neuroscience perspective, it's highly effective. You have to think about what you're writing. You have to plan your hand to move in the way that you're writing, and you read the things that you're writing. So you get 3 different activation points that come off in a different way than speaking when it comes to a neurological level. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that it takes on average 66 days to build a new dominant neural pathway. So doing anything for 1 day and not repeating it is highly unlikely to create any level of lasting change. So we need 66 days of repeated activation, starting with our beliefs about it, which happens in our training process, and then reconfirmed through our experience. So then you get this loop. So over a repeated activation of that time, over what we recommend 90 days to just be effective. Some people cut it at 60, but somewhere in that range, that you have fully established a structural change in your brain, meaning that you automatically reinterpret and re-show up in a different way. You have fully completed a structural change. No matter how much pressure or anything that happens in your life, you do not fall back. Your brain defaults to a new pathway. It's a complete change and then from there, we operate in a cycle where you can actually then build new ones on top of it. And then 90 days later, build new ones on top of it. And so in a year, you've gone through 4 cycles of making structural changes in your brain in different areas, and you express as basically a different personality. It's a meaningful change. You're targeting the identity level, the beliefs level, the intentions level, and then focusing on your future vision and focusing there. There's a variety, and we use gratitude in a couple of other places as well. But you're creating different levels of activation where they create a compounding effect. I'll walk through an example, right? If you just went to say and do this process of I'm a visionary leader who empowers and inspires others, or let's just say I'm a visionary leader on its own. You're not addressing your intent, the underlying driver of your behavior. And so you could be, I'm a visionary leader, and subconsciously it's because you want to make money to validate your self-worth, right? So the why underneath your actions hasn't been addressed. That's why we use I'm a visionary leader who empowers and inspires others, right? Over
Mm-hmm.
time, that becomes your actual motivating driver subconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
automatically. And then at the belief level, if you don't shift anything of that, then you might still believe like I need to the business, I need to hold everything together. That's what a CEO is supposed to be, the micromanager or whatever you're believing that's getting in the way of this. And at a belief level, maybe believing something like delegation expands my impact. When I let go and let other people take over and lead, people rise, my business grows faster, and our impact accelerates or something like that. And so what you're doing is you're targeting all these different areas that run subconsciously simultaneously and creating this compounding effect, which drives the adoption, seeing it in your life, and makes the flywheel spin.
So what have you done at the back end to in terms of like shifting the weights of the model and like creating your own encoded AI that helps people get these very specific journaling prompts or journaling sentences? What have you done? What's happened on the back end to make it feel so individualized for the person?
What the AI does is goes through a specific proprietary process of what I was doing with people that took 3 months. And it's just all that it's doing is it's just replicating the framework that I've developed, but doing it in 30 seconds instead of me processing it over time.
What about if you wanted to change? Something that I've been exploring or thinking about is my relationship to my appearance as I age. And I think that there is definitely some sort of programming going on there. Not I think, I know, because
Mhm.
every woman in my life also experiences the same looping thought. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to slow down, or wait, I'm not going to stop the process of aging by journaling every morning for 20 minutes by saying, I am youthful and I will be 35 forever. Well, okay, I can see your face.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen with the future of aging with all the bioscience. But anyway,
Mhm.
that kind of thing where you're like, well, I'm not going to realistically, like I could journal, I'll be 35 forever, I'll be 35 forever, but I probably won't remain 35 forever. So w- in terms of those sort of things, those sort of beliefs that people want to shift about themselves, like how could this process, whether it's with your company, with the product that you have, or whether it's just
Mhm.
through people trying this on their own, like how could this work?
So what this is called the beauty contract, and it most women suffer from following this contract, meaning that
Mm,
my value as a female, and men fall into it too, especially with the looks maxing era, but my value as a human being is in how attractive I am. And so what the focus actually isn't about trying to be more attractive, because attractiveness is entirely subjective. The focus is actually changing our definition of what beauty means. I think the value of a woman is about who they are, how they empower others, how great of a friend they are,
mm,
right? You can, and like, those are the things that are actually impressive. You can also be beautiful and do all those things, but there's a lot of pretty women that do none of those things and are actually like not attractive by my definition. Um, and so it's more so about shifting the idea of our relationship to what it means. And ironically, when we shift our definition from it, the person who defines our attractiveness is actually ourselves. You can look at a picture of me when I was 27, right? I'm 36 now, and at least I think that I'm 100 times more attractive than I was then. For you too, right? Like you're not even close. Like, and
thank
so
you.
like we're still on the way up. Everyone can define it however they want, right? They already are in some way. It's just whether they've been intentional about it or whether they've inherited a definition that they were given by magazines and MTV and social media and things like that. But when we take the power back and we say, well, I get to define what productivity means for myself. I get to define what success means for myself. I get to define what beauty means to me, right? Like I
Hmm.
had to go through that experience myself about in dating and relationships, and figuring out for myself through lessons and mistakes that like that physical attractiveness is actually not the most valuable quality in a woman, and that helped me redefine my criteria of who I want my wife to be. And
Mm.
once I started to redefine it for myself, you start noticing different you start noticing different people and different options, and you exclude some people. And it was a really important part of my life, actually.
When you came back and started offering Encoded, and you had all this new wisdom and knowledge, and you'd had all these experiences, and um, the clairvoyance had come online, what was the receipt like with people? How did people receive this, and like how did you navigate how people received this new kind of like era of Chris Walker?
I couldn't keep doing the marketing. It was like it was killing me inside. I was not passionate about it anymore. I knew that what I was saying was not making a positive enough of a positive impact on the world. It was helping VCs and private equity people get rich. It wasn't helping the people that worked in the company. It wasn't helping people at an individual level. It was fueling the machine. It just wasn't working for me anymore. And so it's like, I don't care what side of the camp that you fall into. I don't care if you like my new music or that you think that I'm a loser. It doesn't matter to me. I'm doing this. And
Hmm.
so and you almost can't take the leap that I did, or even in any major life decision, you can't do the thing that you know you want to do if you care so much about what other people are going to think about it.
Did you have anyone close to you kind of say, Chris, this is crazy talk. Are you okay?
I mean, there's a couple people that are what I would say are surface level relationships that sent me a text and were like, "Hey, it sounds like you've gone a little crazy." It's actually quite the contrary, my friend. It's
I'm
actually
quite clear.
I now view, if you stay in a toxic company to make $400,000 a year and get your bonus and hope your stock options view for 4 years, and you have trouble sleeping and you don't like your job and you're not with your kids enough and you're traveling all the time, that I view you as crazy to stay in that and subject yourself to that for 4 more years for a couple $100,000 more than some other job. Who decides what is crazy and what isn't? And so it's really about your own internal stability. If you are dependent on other people approving of what you're doing, if you are not clear about who you are, that when somebody criticizes you, Then you get a little shaky. You start wondering, should I go back? Am I going a little too far here? Maybe I had a big audience. Maybe I should go back over there. It was safer over there. And it's like, when you're strong about who you are, that never happens. You never second guess yourself based on somebody else's opinion of you.
Maybe it is important that we do talk about the clairvoyant stuff first, because what I want to get to after that is how these big changes were received, given that you'd built an audience doing something else, and you kind of had to go through the whole thing of like, oh, I've brought this, I can imagine, brought this dream, this vision that I believe into fruition, and people are giving me negative feedback. Yeah, let's do the clairvoyant thing first. When you were saying earlier in the conversation that you have visions, how does that kind of relate to this practice that you've been doing of reprogramming subconscious beliefs?
First off, the ability to access clairvoyant visions happens in our prefrontal cortex. When we train new dominant neural pathways, it shifts the state of our nervous system permanently. I've probably done 20. I was talking about those cycles in the compounding. I've probably done 25 or 30 in my life, 25 or 30 over 4 years, right? So there's a compounding effect happening at the neural pathway level, which is then driving a compounding effect at the nervous system state. The nervous system state then shifts way more into the parasympathetic state. When it shifts into the parasympathetic state, it sends a feedback loop to your brain that says, we are safe. We don't have to be worrying about this anymore. And the capacity of your nervous system expands. Now, if you can think about the capacity of your nervous system, it's like the battery, right? So we have the state of our nervous system, which is like how charged our battery is on any one day, and sleep and limiting alcohol and not being stressed. And there are a variety of things that people do all the time to try to charge their battery at 100%. But if you have a AAA battery and it's charged at 100%, it's still a AAA battery. It's just not that strong. What we're doing is we're training the capacity of our nervous system. So we go from a AAA that can power the remote control of your TV to a generator that can power a house, to a power plant that can power a city. And so as we increase the nervous system capacity and we shift our state into more of a parasympathetic dominant state, both of those things happening, way more cognitive and emotional resources are flowing to our prefrontal cortex. And when that happens, that provides consistent access to things like clarity, self-trust, emotional regulation, ability to connect with other humans, and the ability to access clairvoyant visions. To me, connecting science, it feels that's the explanation for how this works. And so what happens is that I don't sit around and try to visualize the future. They happen to me like I'm sitting in my kitchen on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. and it just happens. And I've created a schedule where I have nothing in the way. And if I do have something in the way, I cancel it immediately because I know I can feel that it's coming.
What do you mean you can feel that it's coming? What's that? What's that like?
Talking to a couple of other people that have experienced something like this, each person's physiological effects are different. So one person I talked to, it feels like gravity's sort of changing and you can feel it coming. For me, it feels like there's energy running through my arms. Like feels like somebody put electrical pads on my fingers and started injecting electricity into my body. So it's kind of like, to me, it's like your body being like, hey, something important is going to happen. And having this, it's probably happened to me now, I don't know, at least a dozen times, maybe 20, that the effect is consistent every time.
And so what happens? You kind of, is it like, I can't remember which one it was, but Phoebe from Charmed. Did you ever watch Charmed growing up?
Never heard of it.
The TV series with the witches, and one of them had the ability to have premonitions, and she would be like, she would like jolt backwards, and like she was having a vision, and her sisters who were also witches could see it. Anyway, and it's a 90s kid thing, but
yeah.
So when you have this vision, what's actually happening? You get the running sensation up your arms, and then does your whole visual perception change, or you just get a download of ideas?
First off, you don't see anything different with your eyes, so it's happening inside of your mind, right? So it's happening with my eyes closed. It's a combination of visions and knowings, which I think is called claircognizance. And so those two combinations together, like my entire thesis of the book that I wrote came from one of those. If people have seen the video Limitless, and you take out the physical stuff, like being able to do karate and stuff like that, but to have the cognitive side, you think with incredible mental clarity, you can see the future in some ways, or a potential future, it might be a better way to say it. I recognize that many people would say that this isn't possible. Like, I think if you went back into 1940 and you told people what people do today, like run a 4-minute marathon, like complete a Rubik's Cube in 3 seconds, like process math at the level that people are doing, that in 1940 people would say that's impossible. A human can't do that. And I think that we're in that same point with this stuff. That I think that in right now people would say that's impossible. A human can't do that. And in 20 years there will be thousands, maybe more humans doing it consistently and demonstrated how it works through science.
And what kind of things are you getting visions of?
I have seen the place where I'm going to get engaged. I've seen the
Mm.
backyard of the house that we're going to live in, with my daughter walking in the grass. Saw the future related to AI and capabilities of humans. What I'm experiencing, almost everyone will do in the future. That humans have all this latent capacity and potential that we just haven't explored or expressed yet. But there will be a split in society, people that live in a synthetic world and humans that live in an organic way and express the amazing human capabilities that they have, splitting from 15-minute cities, all the psychiatric numbing medications, all the digital currencies that some people say we're going to control you, Neuralink, over relying on AI so that people never make a decision anymore. They just basically outsource their life to AI in living a synthetic human life. And then organic humans would realize how fucking amazing that they are already, that they don't need a Neuralink, that they are way more powerful than they think, and that there will be a split in geography, in lifestyle, and basically that you'll have two different worlds in the same world, that people will live in two entirely different ways.
It's interesting that you say that. The last person that I had on the show was sort of said a similar thing. He's a journalist, and it was just based on research, not a vision, but just that there's going to be this split between the humans that lean more towards the technological side of things, and like I can even already see this, people that lean more towards wanting to like hug trees and like touch the grass, and like that becomes their thing. And I guess like there's light and shade with everything within the community of people that move completely away from technology. Like I don't think that it's going to be across the board a good thing for everyone. And then like I also think, that the technology is also going to bring about some really positive changes for people, as well as cultivate this over reliance on outsourcing everything right down to your thinking.
Organic humans are going to use AI. They're going to have robots. They're going to use technology. Their relationship to the technology will be different. The actual split that's going to happen is going to be that, and this has happened throughout history in different ways. Let's just look at the past era, right? So at first, people segregated based on the color of their skin. I don't know. That was maybe 100 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. It still kind of happens, but it's driven through a different means now, which is that people segregate based on their socioeconomic status. That's already happening, right? So there are some patterns where race plays a role in it, but if people are in different races, but they're in the same socioeconomic status, they're more likely to segregate that way. Neighborhoods, cities, you have poor neighborhoods, you have great neighborhoods with great schools. There's already a segregation based on socioeconomic status. That's the current way that people segregate. And in the future, people are going to segregate based on their frequency, meaning that it's not about how much money you have and it's not about what color your skin is. It's about how powerful your nervous system is and how you interact with everybody else.
Mm. When you have these visions, is there, you said that it's the claircognizance, which is kind of like an intense knowing. Is there any level of skepticism? Like, do you experience any level of like, oh, okay, that was weird. Maybe I've interpreted that. Like, maybe that's still interpretable. Or, what's the experience of kind of like integrating what you've just seen?
Zero.
You just know.
No, there's no questioning any of it. There is a very big difference between having an idea and saying, whoa, that would be cool, versus having this experience and saying, I know this is right. Right. Like I'll give you
Mhm.
another example because it happened in Clairaudience before. I was walking down the street in 2020, the middle of COVID. My business is at like 6 people, at Refine Labs, that is. And like just we're stalling out. We're just like, I'm not the, COO type operator. And like, it's just like once you have 6 to 8 people and you're not an operator, things start to get messy. And I was walking down the street on a Friday afternoon, and just in my ear, it was just like, you need to hire Megan Bowen. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've met Megan once. We did that podcast like 6 months ago. I haven't talked to her since. What do you mean I have to hire Megan Bowen? And so I hit her up on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, feel like we should talk. Like, she worked at a company that was dependent on being in office. So COVID had completely destroyed this startup, right? It's just like, if you're not in an office, then they can't do business with you. And so that startup is just going, having a lot of trouble. And so she was deciding to leave that company at the same time that I messaged her. A couple, maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, we started working together, and it was the best hiring decision I've ever made in my life. To change my life forever. She's been an incredible business partner. And so it's like, where does that come from? Right? Like, how does that happen? But I will say that our beliefs drive our health a lot more than we think. We don't have enough evidence around this yet, but we have had 3 specific cases where people come in and they're like, I can't even go on the trampoline with my kids. Like, my back is destroyed. I can't work out. I have been like this for like 6 or 12 months. And just by shifting their belief system, they're on the trampoline in 2 to 3 weeks with their kids. And
Mm,
now they're doing deadlifts and things like that. I can't
mm.
explain it fully yet, but we've seen enough anecdotes for me to be able to say that with confidence, that there's something there worth exploring and understanding more. I think that the number is around 20% of the United States population are on psychiatric numbing medication. So SSRIs, anti-anxieties, things like that.
Final question before we wrap up. What is something that you have drastically changed your mind about over the last 5, 10 years?
We'll say over the last 10 years. Um, I have, and it's not really about changing my mind. It is about choosing for myself, because up in 10 years ago, what I believed was what I was told to believe, right? You're told that you should be married by 30. You're told that you should buy a house by the time you're X age. You're told that once you get out of college, you should climb the corporate ladder and try to get the good job title. That drinking alcohol is cool, and that's what you do at a business dinner. And in order to connect with people, that you should have a couple drinks in order to connect with them, right? Whatever, right? All of them. That success, like what a successful person is somebody who has fame, money, or power, or all three. That I don't believe that. That's not my definition of success anymore. Um, that I have changed my mind on all of those things at a foundational level. Um, and when the switch is really one, realizing that a lot of the things that you currently believe are not, that might be confused as facts to you right now, are not even yours. That you didn't choose them; they were given to you, about what beauty means. Right? Most people don't choose what beauty means; they get told what it means by magazines and everything like that. So to one, realize that these things are there that you didn't even choose. And then to realize, oh, I can actually choose this for myself. I can actually choose what attractiveness means. I can choose what a great relationship actually means, right? We get told what a relationship should be like from movies and Taylor Swift songs and, rappers talking about stuff. Like, we get programmed with how things should go from all these different areas, that we can choose those things for ourselves.
Mhm.
And when we do, what happens is that we begin the process of intentionally designing our life based on what we actually want. Um, so that was a long-winded way of saying that there. It's just, to me, it's maybe if you force me to give an example, I'll come up with one. I just gave a bunch, but to me, it was about rethinking almost everything.
There are no rules. Well, thank you so much for fielding so much of my skepticism. I really
What a
appreciate
blast!
it. Where can people find you and your work and the Encoded app?
So if you found this interesting, I also host a podcast called the We Are Encoded podcast on Apple, Spotify, places like that. We went some really cool topics here, and I appreciate you bringing some different ideas. So we go deeper into the science and some of the concepts and the frameworks on the Encoded podcast. So feel free to check that out. I share my thoughts taking these concepts and bringing it into business and corporate culture and entrepreneurship on LinkedIn, which I think is fascinating and really cool. And if you're interested in learning more about Encoded AI, Encoded is a training system to train your mindset and your nervous system capacity, which allows you to express all these amazing different things within you. That is encoded.ai, and feel free to check it out.
Cool. Chris Walker, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Cool. Thanks for having me.